Hi guys, so I am at home today working and I thought I would film a quick video on something that is, for me, basically what my whole job is about. I want to, in my career, spread the love of yoga and everything that it represents. I want to, I'm just going to move this a little bit further away. I would like to not only help people find their yoga practice and deepen their connection with their practice and themselves, but also in doing that I'd like to spread my knowledge as a teacher with other teachers to assist them in maybe the beginning of their journey. So it's a question I get a lot on social media. I also assisted in a teacher training here in Dublin in UCD, and there was the same questions that always come up amongst teachers who are starting out. So I'm going to just run through those questions that I get a lot, and hopefully share with you a little bit of wisdom that I have gained over the past 4 years of teaching. So let's get started with where I did my teacher training. It's probably the most asked question. I did my teacher training with Yandara Yoga in Mexico. They do their training Mexico, Bali. They used to do it in Hawaii. I think they still do. We were called the Love Tribe, which is what we called ourselves, our little group of amazing people. It was one of the best experiences, probably the best experience of my life. It changed me, or it helped me to find myself and my confidence. It was so much more than just a yoga teacher training. Fuck my life. My battery's about to go and I've just started this bloody video. I'm just gonna go off and have a tantrum. Oh. Okay, I am back after my little tantrum. So yes, as I was discussing, like I was saying, it was so much more than just learning how to be a yoga teacher. It was really gaining the confidence to really just be who you are, and to find yourself individually and as a community of teachers. I made some of the bestest and most authentic friendships I've ever made. I personally get a lot of questions asking where to do your training in Dublin. Honestly, I could never, and I do never, offer advice on things that I haven't experienced myself. It's not authentic for me to tell you that I've heard a training is good. Everyone's needs and things that are important to them are different, so I can recommend Yandara because I have experienced it. I think personally for me, the intense training of doing everything in the one place at the same time, day in, day out, 30 days of training was the best thing for me. It helped me absorb. It helped me find stillness, acceptance where I was, and the immersing into the life of a yogi with the meals and the quiet time during meals, the silence, the laughter, the silliness, the joy. It was all something that I feel you can only experience when you are separated from your everyday life and the things that you take for granted that perhaps aren't serving you, and perhaps habits that you need to change. I don't think you're able to really recognize that until you step away completely and give yourself time to immerse yourself in the training. So for me, I would always advise doing an intense training. Preferably somewhere that is not close to your family, your friends. Yeah, so that is my experience, and of course I'm advising this, but everyone's different, so that might not be true to you. I would ask as many people as you can. For me, I've experienced the intense training and I would recommend it. Maybe you can discuss it with somebody who has done the training in Yoga Dublin or Yoga Hub or whatever it is. So So when it comes to training, that's my tips. I would go for it. I would go abroad, step out of your comfort zone, and just immerse yourself in the best experience that you'll probably ever have, whether you're going to be a teacher or not. It's something that I would definitely recommend for you as a person. It will just change your life completely. Another big question that I think is really important is, do you need a social media platform to market your business? I have two beliefs kind of that are a little bit different and that contradict each other. I by no means feel that you have to feel under pressure to create a social media account, to be really active on a social media account. I do, however, believe it is a free way to market, and for me personally it was the backbone of my marketing and has been for the last 3 years. I'm very comfortable online. It's something that comes naturally to me. I'm a very open person, even though I'm also an introvert. So for me, it worked. For a lot of people, it won't. I would definitely try to use as much free marketing as possible, because the internet is where it's all happening. It's definitely a place where it might feel a little bit scary, and sometimes, and a lot of the time, when you're not getting a lot of traction back, it can perhaps affect your confidence in a negative way, and I would hate that for anyone. So obviously marketing online is not for everyone, but in saying that, there's no harm in putting up simple details. It can be little snippets of your practice. It can be a photo of a flower and your ideas on being present, or tips on being present. I think it's definitely something that can be used without putting too much of yourself up there. I think it's just handy to have somewhere to send people when you are teaching and somebody asks, where can I find your information? It's really important to be able to send them somewhere, and online is free and is the most accessible to basically everyone in the world. So it doesn't have to be an Instagram, it can be a Facebook page, it can be nothing to do with your face or your body. It really just is your tool to spread your schedule and maybe your personal beliefs of your teaching and your practice. I think that's important for people to just get a feel for you. You have to remember that other people that are coming to you are also nervous and are maybe finding it difficult to make the decision in coming to your class. So you sharing a little bit of yourself is going to help that person perhaps share a little bit of their practice with you. So try not to let fear hold you back. Fear can be crippling, and it can, there's a quote by Shakespeare that I think can probably put a lot more eloquently what I'm saying into a beautiful sentence and quote. Our doubts are traitors and make us lose the good we oft might win by fearing to attempt. So I do believe that if you are allowing fear to take over a little bit of putting yourself out there on social media platforms, you're really holding yourself back a little bit. Don't do it if it is something you don't believe in, but try not to allow fear to be a guiding force in your marketing, okay? So try to be authentic to yourself, but use what's free. It's worked for me, and it's been, like I said, a guiding force in getting me to where I am today in my business. In general as well, marketing yourself, I think it naturally comes with the trade. The more you teach, obviously, the more you market. So you don't have to be really present on social media, like I said, but when you go to teach it, all these little things that you do and you get to send them somewhere, that's marketing in itself. And even though you might not be very active on your social media, when you're out teaching, you're able to market yourself and build your audience and build your following without too much risk or without too much anxiety over not getting much back in return. Marketing yourself at events is also something that obviously is a massive tool in spreading your teaching and allowing people that may not be in your vicinity to experience your teaching. For me personally, I've discussed this on my social media account that I'm not very confident in big groups of people. Even though I'm very comfortable getting up and I could teach yoga in front of 100 people, that's fine. But when it comes to events and networking, it's not something I enjoy. It's not something that comes naturally to me. And even though, yes, I have forced myself to do it at times, I don't do it needlessly. So I don't believe that you should have to sacrifice your time, which is irreplaceable and extremely valuable. I don't feel like you should sacrifice time or your ethics in order to market yourself. So there are very useful ways in marketing yourself, like I said, at these events, but they're not for everybody. For me personally, the event world is not something I enjoy doing, so I like to do free classes, charity classes. I think they're a great way. They pay for themselves with the clients you get from the classes. I have done a lot of free classes in the corporate world, for friends, for charity, and I think it's a great way just to practice your teaching, to get comfortable networking, and to show up in a place that you are at ease, that you don't feel overwhelmed in, and that you can be your authentic self without comparing yourself to other teachers or without putting too much pressure on yourself to conform to what you believe the yoga scene is about or should look like. One of the biggest marketing tools for me is an email list. So if none of the online platforms is for you, an email list is for me one of the biggest marketing tools I have. Personally, when I shop the most is when I get an email campaign showing me what's new in at Mango, what's new in at Topshop or whatever, and when I see all that's going on, all the new stuff, all the new colors and designs, that's when I want to shop. I want to purchase and invest. So an email list is also a little bit more personal. You can make it seem more personal. It's not just out there on the internet. You have received it into your inbox, and it can be a really nice way to connect in. You can send monthly updates on just maybe things you have learned in your practice this month, places you are teaching. It's a really nice place just to connect in again with your tribe, build on your audience, and it's a way of building your platform and your business without having to put yourself out there too much. It's not about getting likes or getting feedback. You will naturally just feel good after sending a little bit of yourself out there to these individuals. So my next topic is queuing. So I'm very lucky that the biggest compliment that I always get is about my queuing, and a cue is basically a description of alignment, of feeling, of breath, whatever it is. When I'm teaching, when I describe what we're doing, when I describe what you should be feeling or what you should be shifting or what you should be engaging, these are all cues that assist people in deepening their practice. I think it came quite naturally to me. My mum is a teacher, and I feel like maybe that is has worked to my advantage. I think I am a very intuitive person. I listen to myself a lot. I am quite connected to what I'm feeling emotionally and physically. And I've always been very open with how I feel. So I think these are all things that you should try to get comfortable with. I think maybe when you're practicing yourself, it's really important to practice mindfully, obviously. And the more mindful you are, the more you listen to what you're feeling in each pose, noticing the muscles you're engaging, noticing the slight adjustments or tweaks that make you feel the pose better or more comfortable, or allows you to embrace the pose more. These are things that you should take note of. So perhaps if you're trying to improve on your cueing skills, that when you practice yourself, either you speak out loud to yourself and tell yourself how you're feeling, where you're feeling it, what helps you make the pose stronger, and then write these things down. So these should all be things that you are, you know, the sequence is important, but for me, I think cueing is a lot more important. So how your clients feel when they're in a pose, whether it's a warrior two or a Pinchamayurasana or a handstand, how they feel in the pose and the confidence that you give them is the most important thing. So allowing them to feel connected to the pose is going to be a lot more accessible for them if you cue strongly. So I don't want to harper on about the importance of it, because if you're not good at cueing, that might make you feel a little bit inadequate, but it's definitely something anyone can do. So also reading yoga books, so making yourself a little bit more comfortable with the language of yoga. For me, I don't use Sanskrit really in my teaching. I use just plain old English, and I definitely think that for some people Sanskrit works and for some people they don't. But even just having an anatomy knowledge and being comfortable with anatomy and the language that surrounds your muscular system, your skeletal system, these are things that are going to help you just feel a little bit more at ease when you're adjusting somebody or when you are telling them how to feel. I also don't adjust a lot, so I prefer to use my words and explain in detail, like really a lot of detail, how to feel a pose. I think that people naturally know their bodies a lot better than you're gonna know it. So I like to, let's say for example, instead of saying engage through Mula Bandha, I will say imagine you need to go to the toilet and you're holding it in. Okay, so that's something that everybody knows how it feels. Engage Mula Bandha is something that maybe 5% of your class is going to know what you mean, and you're going to end up having to explain it, which might make you fluster in your words or lose your confidence or get distracted. I personally think that make it as humanly relatable as possible. I think explain it like you're explaining it to a child, and make it fun, make it silly. And that when you make it silly, when you make it like you are one of them, like this is what you feel, and asking your clients, do you feel this as well? It makes them feel a little bit more connected to you and at your level. That's something else that I've been complimented on, is that I make people feel very comfortable, that I always begin my classes by giving them the space or creating the space for them that they are comfortable in modifying their practice. It's something that I think is really important for people to feel free on their mat, not restricted to your sequence. So we are teachers, we're not rulers or dictators. So we're there to offer a sequence, and I think it's the most beautiful thing when you have a room full of people and everybody is doing something completely different, because we are all completely different. So I think it's really important to stress that at the beginning of your class. You don't have to harper on about it, but definitely to make them feel comfortable that when we are in a warrior two, if you want to take a warrior two with palms to prayer at the heart, if you want to take warrior two with hands on your hips, these are things that you can modify. Even if you as a teacher or an instructor don't offer it, it doesn't mean it's not available for them. That there is always the freedom in your class to modify and adjust as much as you need, and that if you don't as a teacher offer a modification, that they shouldn't feel scared to go ahead or take a step back to a pose that is calling, or their body is calling them for. I think it's really important to embrace everybody's uniqueness and to say that we're all here together sharing this space and that we can inspire each other, but really for your body to be the inspiration for you, to allow your energy to and your breath to guide you through your practice, and that it is going to be different every single day, depending on the quality of your energy and the quality of your day, your sleep, whatever it is. So I think just a few minutes at the beginning of class while they settle into their mat is a really nice time for you just to make them feel at home in their body, and that there's no comparisons, there's no expectations in your class. It's a nice way to begin the class. So another thing that we touched on in the teacher training is a question about class planning. So should you class plan? Personally, I do. There are teachers who go in with nothing and they intuitively teach. Sometimes they are really comfortable with memorizing class plans. I like to have it there because I like to lose myself a little bit in my teaching, and sometimes I can lose myself completely, and I like to have a little reminder there. It's literally just, I don't put any words in my class plans. They are, the words I feel should always be unique to your class, and depending on the type of people you have, you're going to have to modify the words you use or the modifications of the poses. But I like to have a class plan. I'll maybe put a little picture here of an idea that I just do the little stick men, and it just means if I'm forgetting, or if I'm just checking in with my time to see how much I have left, I can shorten the class, I can extend it, I can add in, I can take away. But it's just a guideline for me. I like to have a little book. It's also nice to keep track of your teaching and classes that you really enjoyed teaching you can go back to. I repeat classes a lot. If you're struggling with class planning, you can get ideas online. In the beginning, I think it's always good to teach classes that you have practiced yourself or done in your home practice. I think it's a lot more, for me anyway, easier to remember a class that you have come up with yourself and that you have practiced yourself. But if you're struggling with your home practice and you prefer to take inspiration or take pose for pose a class from online, it's a good place to start. You're going to make it different, so it's not going to be copied. And we're all copying from somewhere, you know, we're all taking inspiration from our teachers, our mentors. So I think the most important thing is that you are spreading the joy of yoga and your unique flair to it. So don't get too caught up in sequencing or being original in your sequencing. That will come with time and practice. I still work on that still. So try not to take it too seriously. Like, you should be having fun in your teaching. So really it's whatever works for you. If you like to class plan. If you don't, if you're more of an intuitive practitioner or intuitive teacher, it's really whatever works for you. There's no right or wrong in yoga. So again, I would never impose my thoughts on your teaching. For me, what works is a guideline and my little book of classes that I like to go to and add in and take away, and yeah. I think an important thing to touch on as well is that it's important to stick to what you know. So I think it's, even though I have before taught workshops and let's say handstands, I'm still on my journey in handstands, and that does not mean that I can't teach handstands. There are people in my classes that can do handstands, and I still help them with their practice and improve their alignment or their strength. Just because I can't handstand myself doesn't mean that I'm not actually good at teaching it. So even though I'm saying to stick to what you know, that doesn't mean that you don't know drills or you're not familiar with the feeling of doing a handstand just because you're not perfect or not doing the final pose. But I would say definitely in the beginning, it's for your confidence. If you're lacking in it, it's much easier to practice what you know. So if, for example, for me, I'm really aware and comfortable in my back bending, so it's something that I in the beginning taught a lot. It's a strength of mine, and it was easier to share that with others and to describe how it should feel and where you should be strengthening and how to practice safely. That was something I was comfortable in my practice, so I shared that with my classes a lot. I would advise that definitely in the beginning of your practice. If Sanskrit is something you are not comfortable with, then don't use it until you're comfortable or you've practiced a lot. If meditation is something that you are not comfortable with, then don't force it. It will come naturally in your teaching when it comes naturally in your practice. So I think your own self-practice is really important in your teaching. Your teaching is not going to improve until your self-practice improves. So work on your self-practice and know that when you feel comfortable in aspects of your practice, that you can then share that with others. And that's the whole journey of your teaching. It's basically you sharing your journey in your practice. And an extension of that is to know your audience. So I think that is a strength that you can work in. Try not to look at it as a weakness. If you think that your audience is older or moms or pregnant people or kids, school, teenagers, whatever it is, I think knowing your audience is a really good place to start when you're beginning your teaching journey. For me, it's always been kind of the people who like a powerful, strong practice like myself. So that is my audience, and I have always kind of known that and attracted those people. You will intuitively or naturally attract people that are in tune with your practice. It's something just to be aware of when you are targeting a market, that you stick to that and don't get distracted by what other people are doing or who other people are teaching. Your audience is your strongest tribe, so stick to your tribe and make authentic connections there, because that's going to be where you are most comfortable and where you teach from your heart and where you teach to your best ability. Something that I find is one of the most important things to me, and one of the most important questions that I get, is if you can be a yoga instructor and be an introvert. So firstly, there's no one label that I think you should label yourself, and I think labeling can be quite a dangerous game to play. I'm an introvert in some ways and an extrovert in other ways. When I teach, I am probably the most confident I feel in any aspect of my life. I love to teach. I feel comfortable teaching. But it's something that people struggle with, getting the confidence to get up in front of people and speak and share. I think firstly you have to remember that people are innately kind. They are human like you. They are nervous to be on their mat. So remember that the people that are standing in or sitting in front of you are also nervous about their practice or sharing their practice with you. That immediately will make you feel compassionate and less fear and more connected to them, and will enhance that energy between you and your class. I do not think you have to be an extrovert to be the best yoga teacher. I think you need to have a sense of belonging to yourself. So I think true belonging is a spiritual practice of believing and wholly belonging to yourself. I think that you have to remember that as long as you are authentic to yourself, as long as you share from your heart and you are kind to yourself, you can share that with others. So I think you need to let go of the expectation that you're placing upon yourself, the labels that you place on yoga teachers in general, that they should look or practice or share in a certain way. There are some yoga teachers that are online, there are some people that are just in studios. There is no right or wrong again in yoga. So I feel it's really important that you remind yourself that as long as you are at home in yourself, as long as you take time every day to reconnect with yourself and to know what is true to you and important to you, that you will find confidence to step up and share that with others. Because you have to remember that you are completely unique. The things that you are going to share today cannot be shared or taught by anybody else, and that's why the people are in your class. And they are also humans just like you, and we are connected and we are one, and that is the reason we find our way to our mats, because we live in a world of disconnect and where we are on our screens 24/7. You are enabling these people to find that connection to yourself. And if you can show up with already a connection to yourself and a comfort in yourself, it doesn't have to be confidence, it can be just a comfort and a feeling of home and at ease, then you can share that with your clients. And that is the foundation of yoga, that you're giving them time to connect with their body and breath. Forget about the sequence, forget about the level of yoga, whether it's intermediate, advanced, beginner. Allow your yogis in your class to feel at home on their mat, and they will remember that. That is far more important and a much stronger memory than a good warrior two description that you shared with them. Okay, so I think being an introvert is not a bad thing. Sometimes it means that you are actually more comfortable in yourself and more connected to yourself. I feel like that's what's made me a better yoga teacher, is that I take time to connect with myself and I can share that authenticness with the people in my class and allow them to feel their authentic self as well. Okay, so I hope these few tips have helped you. I think it's a scary and exciting journey becoming a yoga teacher. It is a lifelong journey, so please don't feel like you're under pressure to get it right straight away. I certainly did not, and I certainly am still working on so much of my practice and my teaching skills. I'm actually going off next month to my 300-hour training with Dylan Berner. I'm so excited to share on YouTube and in some upcoming things that I'm working on for you guys to deepen your practice, your teaching, all of these things. So stay tuned, and yeah, have a great day, and I hope this video has helped you in some aspect of your confidence. Okay, have a great day.